what the aim for this trip to UK is to meet all of you guys who've been successful.
I got sponsored back in 2023. So
Are you bragging or you?
I am kind of bragging. Yes, why not? I am bragging. I should be.
I got sponsored last year. It is very hard, but not impossible.
And what skills got you this job?
Lot of them, to be honest.
One of the core
Networking was
skills.
one of the main.
I would say the very first thing that got me that job was being persistent. I feel like a lot of the companies have already hired the best pick in the crowd. And when normal people, I would consider myself as normal or below average, when someone like me tries to apply for a job, obviously my chances are very, very, very thin. Once you gain this, you need to master at least one of the skills. I think doing them will definitely guarantee you a job, regardless of what background you come from.
What have you guys done differently? We're trying to pinpoint that out and share it with the future students so they come prepared. If you guys want to be successful, what you guys need to really do. So that's the whole aim of this exercise. And if you want to stay connected with us, subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for more. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course. So I'm from Bangalore. I was actually born and raised in a really small town called Dharwad, but I did my engineering for 4 years in Bangalore. So I'm a former engineer. I moved here in 2021 for my master's in MBA. I did that for 2 years. During my second year, I did my internship with my university where I studied.
Which university did you study?
University of Greenwich. Did that for about a year. But before I jumped into that marketing role, I actually worked with Preeti and Tanishq for 3 months as a lecturer. And that's where I was able to experiment or like dip my toes in the water for lecturing job. Obviously, when I started off, I didn't set out to become a lecturer. But because I had the opportunity to try it out for 3 months, taking a gap of 7 months from lecturing actually made me realize how much I like it, retrospectively speaking. And I really enjoyed teaching because it enabled me to engage with people, have intellectual conversations and stay up to date with everything that's happening in the world. You don't really get to experience this with a normal desk job. I think that's why I went back to lecturing. So it's been 2 years since I've been a lecturer, a year in higher education, and right now I'm working with further education, which is British teenagers essentially. There's been way too many differences, two completely different experiences, but I think so far I've been loving it.
You said that you started with lecturing,
Yes.
then you went into marketing,
Yes.
and then you came back into lecturing.
Yes.
So what do you teach?
I teach business in general. Mainly marketing would be my expertise because I did my internship with Alma Mater for a year. So I take pride in that. I'm sorry, I keep mentioning it.
No, that means you love Greenwich.
I love Greenwich, absolutely.
And
amazing.
big shout out
university.
to University of Greenwich. I think you guys are doing a great job. We have 4 of your students. We are here talking to them, understanding how their experience at Greenwich has been. So you also did the 2-year MBA, the one first year and the second placement year.
Yeah.
And in the placement year, you interned within University of Greenwich.
Yes.
What did you do in that placement year?
So I worked with the marketing team for MBA students.
Right.
So we were essentially having conversations with the MBA students on how to curate their CVs, how to look for jobs. We spoke to different recruiters and tried to get them to hire our MBA students. At University of Greenwich, we have a huge number of international students. So they usually face a lot of troubles trying to secure a job or an internship. For a course like MBA, like the one that I did, it's mandatory that you do an internship in your second year. And a lot of students were failing in achieving their MBA degrees because they weren't able to get an internship. That's where we came into picture.
So you turned your problem into an opportunity. That's the entrepreneurial part of you.
Most of the universities in the UK have designated or dedicated teams that help international students with CVs, with different opportunities. They liaise with different companies and try and get as many recruiters as possible. So that was the team I was essentially working with. That's how I was exposed to CCOS and I was exposed to other companies as well, where I could potentially find a sponsorship in the future.
Right.
So I would say that working with that in that role has definitely helped me look at how recruiters work or how CVs work and the importance of being in touch with the recruitment team in your university.
That's fantastic. I think it's so very important that you are in touch with your university, your professors, anybody you get to know. And how do you believe is the job market in UK right now, especially the education sector?
With the education sector, or generally speaking, I think at the moment, the job market is very, very, very saturated because you've got international students and home students. And when I say international student, I'm not just saying Asia. We've got Americans, we've got Canadians, South Americans, African students, people from Portugal, Spain, all around the world. And these are brilliant students, mind you. It's not just that, you pay a lump of sum and you come over to UK and do your university and try and find a job. No, these are actually really highly capable and highly intellectual people who fly here, and they're trying to get a job. So imagine competing with that set of crowd. It can be really, really difficult. I feel like a lot of the companies have already hired the best pick in the crowd. And when normal people, I would consider myself as normal or below average, when someone like me tries to apply for a job, obviously my chances are very, very, very thin. Firstly, because there's no openings available. Secondly, I'm competing with extremely brilliant minds from Harvard or Cambridge or Oxford, Durham, etc. So I think that's where we stand right now.
What do you believe got you the opportunity? Is it just that you were there before time, or you did something differently to land the role that you have?
So the role that I'm in right now, I got it just 6 months ago, which is not that long ago. I would say the very first thing that got me that job was being persistent. You will fail at the first 200 applications that you make. You will fail at the first 500
That's the rite of
applications.
passage.
Yes, and this number
Yeah.
keeps increasing as the months go by. So I'm saying 200 now. A couple of months later, it's going to be 300. A couple of months later, it's going to be 500. And that number is going to keep increasing exponentially because of how many students are flooding into this country on a daily basis. So obviously, close to September, everybody's trying to find an internship, everybody's trying to find a job, or people are trying to find a place in university. So the competition is going to rise. The only way you will make out of this is being persistent. And secondly, what my colleagues talked about is having good network.
Good network.
And the third thing in the mix that I would say is being lucky, which is being in the right place at the right time. But how you would be in the right place at the right time is by being persistent
By being everywhere.
everywhere, or putting yourself in a
Yeah.
position where you can get lucky
Get lucky.
with the job. Yeah, so luck doesn't just happen to people. A lot of my students who are teenagers are like, Miss, why are we even studying this? People just get lucky when they start a job, or people just get lucky when they start a business. That's exactly what I try to tell them. They're not lucky by chance. They put themselves in that position to be lucky.
lucky.
Because if you look at their history, working history or studies history, these people who start a business, who eventually become successful, are probably graduates from Durham or Warwick or Cambridge or Oxford. They didn't just get lucky. They've studied, they've got the qualification, and they've positioned themselves with the universe in a way that they actually got lucky.
Right.
These are the three top ingredients for success, I would
That's
say.
What do you believe? Will you guys be able to get like a sponsorship from the job that you currently have?
I got sponsored last year.
Oh my
A note to CJ, we want confettis.
I think that was a very big moment for me because that answered thousands of my doubts on myself, what my parents had, and all of that. I consider myself to be lucky, but that's the 1%. The 99% is all pure hard work, the skills and all it got there. And I would say that it is very hard, but not impossible.
A big high five for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. How about you, Radhika? What?
I'm still looking for sponsorship. Maybe by the end of this year, hoping. Let's see.
But I think you already have precedence, so that will make things easier.
Yeah.
So best wishes for that. I think you are in the right place. You have an
Yes.
employer who sponsors, so I think that's fantastic. How about you, Tanish?
So as Preeti was mentioning, I got sponsored back in 2023. So
Are
it's-
you bragging or you?
I am kind of bragging. Yes, why not? I am bragging. I should be. Am I like at this stage? I should be bragging. But to be honest, the stage until the time when you get a sponsorship was a very like a jarring state where you are constantly in that zone. That would you get it or would you not get it? I'm telling you, but it's a very small experience. There was a time I was like, I don't care right now. If I get the sponsor, I'm going to get it on my own terms and I'm on my own skills. I'm proving myself to my organization. I think my organization trusted me with that particular skill so that it could give me the sponsorship. Even 1% of the chance, 1% of the doubt they had, I think none of the organizations do that. Okay. In the UK, you have to be very careful and very aligned with your organizational value and your company values and how much are you contributing. Are you an asset or are you in a liability? Okay, so you have to bridge that thing. If you continuously proving yourself as a liability, none of the organization would do that. If you're proving continuously you are an asset, you get the high chances of a sponsorship. So I think during that time, I think with my college, Seacoast College, I'm really thankful to Seacoast. Yeah, grateful to Seacoast College and Seacoast management for giving me, and specifically I would mention Mr. Smile. He's a head of education. He's a dean of a college. I would really, really appreciate him for entrusting me with that. I would say opportunities so that I could be sponsored. And now I'm in my third. I would be completing my second year, and I'm hopeful that by the time everything goes, UK doesn't change any rule, and I could go for my ILR properly. So yeah, I'm happy about it. But it would never come easy. You have to continuously prove yourself.
Success never comes easy. How about you, Vatsalya?
I'm still on my way to get sponsored, not sponsored yet. I'm speaking to my employers to see, if they can sponsor me. But like he said, there's a lot of changes right now happening, especially with international students, permanent residency or sponsorship as well. So it's definitely much, much more complicated now. And I think it's going to keep getting complicated as years go by and as different parties take over the country. Yeah, I'm really happy for my friends who got sponsored at the right time. Again, right time at the right place. It needs to align properly.
Trust yourself.
Yeah, trust yourself, be persistent, and yeah, you'll make it.
I think you guys form a great team, supporting each other, and I'm really, really excited to be in your company, and I'm knowing that you all will be, supporting each other through this journey.
Yeah, kind of actually. At this stage, we kind of like a backup or like we're backing up each
Trauma
other.
bonding.
Trauma bonding, yes.
I'm very familiar with that.
Yeah.
Just to touch bases with how Brexit has affected the scenario in the UK, I don't think Brexit directly impacts international students, but it has definitely contributed in multiple ways that we can't really see on the surface. For example, because of Brexit, a lot of Europeans flocked into the country and they live here now permanently on an IRL. What this has caused is increase in cost of living crisis. It's increased rents exponentially. Obviously, availabilities of jobs has gone up because there's more people coming into the country. On a UK student visa, you can't travel Europe anymore, so that's a disadvantage. You will have to get a Schengen visa. Unlike if you decide to study in Germany or Italy, you can just travel across Europe without another visa. Again, because of Brexit, it's just it acts as a hurdle for a lot of things, but also in the background, it's actually hurting the country and hurting international students a lot.
Right.
That's what I
And
would say.
what's your plan B? If you don't get sponsorship, what would you do, Vatsalya?
I would happily go back to India because what I have experienced personally is the kind of talent that I've met in Bangalore during my engineering days. It's very hard to come by that kind of talent here. I don't know how to explain it. But this country or the West in general is so focused on hustling. It's so focused on go, hustle culture, earn money, become millionaire culture, that people have forgotten how to slow down and actually focus on their skills. But it was the opposite in India. People were actually able to do videography, photography, speaking skills, or doing drama in college and university. People don't do that here anymore because everybody's eyes is on the prize.
Right.
And because of those kind of skills, people are. This is just, again, this is very subjective because it's my opinion. I found people in India or my friends in India to be of higher in intellect in general. And they just had different ways of doing life and different ways of doing things. Obviously, it's two different scenarios, two different struggles, because when you're back home, you feel like, oh, it would be nice to live in London. When you're here, you would be like, oh, it would be nice to have a slow life. It would be nice to be on a beach right now. So the grass is always going to be greener.
Right.
It's up to you which grass you decide
Right.
to water.
Right. Yeah. That's a great way to put it. And I think one has to make the best of what they have. So, Preeti, you are, I think, the best person for this, right? You work in career services. You help students understand what opportunities they can get. To be a career advisor, what are the skills that are essentially required?
So basically, to be a career advisor, so I work with the recruitment of local students here. And then talking about our Indian students, I feel they are more hardworking. I think we are the most set of hardworking people that we meet here. By blood, we are hardworking, so that's already in our genes.
That's already checked.
So just to add to that, a few more skills and then to get that. So as a career advisor, I would say that the first skill you need to have is your communication. It's not about your English, but it's about the communication. Nobody's expecting you to speak the British kind of English over here. But you need to communicate with people, you need to put yourself out there, speak to as many people you can. So my first job here was a sales advisor.
Right.
To be precise, I was working in this mall.
Okay.
Exactly in this mall. While I was working here, I was thinking. I used to come here every day morning, open the store, close the store. My job here used to convince.
Which store was that?
It was ProCook. For example, you have Home Center and all of that in India, right? So it's a similar kind of a retail store. And I started my job as a sales advisor. So what led me to being a career advisor was sales advisor at some point of time, where I learned speaking to different kinds of customers. So when you speak with more people, you know how the market is and all of that. You gain a different perspective. So I would say that communication is something which is more important. And the second one, like we all discussed, is networking. So when you start communicating, you start building up friends. You get acquaintances.
Right.
So that's the second step. Then the third step is, once you gain this, you need to master at least one of the skill. So once you know you're really confident in this, for example, you want to work in the administrative sector, you can't become a manager in a day like Tanishq told.
Yeah.
To become a manager, it takes a lot of effort. You need to start from the basement and intern,
Right.
and then grade 1 officer, then work in your team, perform the best, then become a team lead, then goes the manager level. So I think you need to be patient.
Right.
Hard work and all of this is okay, but you can't reap all the efforts in a day.
So you don't have to assume that you will become whatever you want to be on day one.
Exactly.
But it's a journey, and you've got to be patient for
I
that.
think it was 4 years and more than 5 to 6 job roles I had.
You're right.
There were times when we keep on changing our job roles, but I would say that stick to your skills, not the job.
Not the job. I
That's
think
something.
that's so important.
Exactly.
And I don't think it can be better put in words. So stick to your skills,
Not your job.
not your job, and I
And
think
it's
then you will always rise. I think that's. Thank you, Preeti, for that phenomenal advice. Radhika, just tell us a little bit about your day-to-day role. What exactly do you do, and what skills are required for you to get that job?
So first of all, I'm working as admissions officer. My job role is daily I'll be allocated files. I have to prepare them and I have to just follow up the pending documents, and I have to call Preeti most of the times. Preeti, this is the doubt. What should I do? And so I have to, like, after that, once the file is prepared and everything, documents are there, so I have to call students for the interviews. That is the most difficult part. Not difficult, to be honest, but once you're used to it,
Yeah.
daily basis. So yeah, and after that, sending offer letters and everything. This is one of the daily tasks of mine.
And what skills got you this job?
Lot of them, to be honest.
Yeah.
First is communication skills, as Preeti said.
One of the core
Networking was
skills.
one of the main. Yeah.
Now I want to get to the professors. What I want to understand is, and I think that's very interesting, very different. What would you look for in another lecturer that you will hire?
Let's go one skill at a time.
Right.
You do one, I do one.
Right?
If you found this useful, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel.